Jake, we played Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, just like many others did, but we weren't allowed to talk about it. But now they've unveiled, you no longer have to adhere to the NDA that we all signed. When you played the game, your fucking PSN ID was over the screen. It was so annoying. But I think we have a different perspective on this game. Obviously, everybody's seen the previews. IGN's preview wasn't very positive on it. But we are both fans of Marvel Avengers. We enjoy action RPGs, even the mediocre ones. So, Jake, what do you have to say about Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League?
I am extremely positive about this game. I had a great time in the closed alpha test. I was texting my brother, I was texting my buddies the whole time, like, oh my god, I can't believe how much I am enjoying this game. And I gotta tell you, all of the perspectives that are coming out now, there is a degree to which I understand a lot of them. I get where people are coming from. I think that there is a harsh level of dissonance happening right now, where you have a company like Rocksteady, who really made their bones on creating this third-person action game that was heavily praised for its verisimilitude. It's the degree to which you feel like the character you are portraying, right? Like, feel like Batman. That came from Rocksteady, right? That's who, and now we say, feel like Spider-Man. That is the popular superhero game. This game is not that. So already what the audience has been trained to enjoy and appreciate is not what they're going for. And that's going to create dissonance in audience reaction. So instead of in this game, they're not trying to make you feel like Harley Quinn or feel like King Shark. That's not what's happening at all. Instead, they have made a third-person looter shooter with a DC Comics style, with DC Comics stuff kind of trying to lift up what is, I think, a pretty original third-person shooter that in game feel is way closer to something like Sunset Overdrive or even Borderlands. So that's already the first thing, is that I had to reframe how I was understanding this game, because on a philosophical level, it's not at all what Rocksteady is known for. And instead, this is a game that wants to be appreciated for its game feel, its systems, its loop, and its skill ceiling. Something that I think even the Batman games weren't really chasing. So I know I'm really saying a lot right here, but do you kind of know where I'm coming from?
Yeah, you put that very well. First,
Thank you.
Jake, what is verisimilitude?
Verisimilitude.
Verisimilitude, okay.
Yeah. So that's when I was in grad school for creative writing, that's a word we would use to be like, oh my god, that experience you're writing about is the dialogue. The dialogue has a high degree of verisimilitude because it sounds like how somebody actually talks. So when a video game has it's like, oh my god, this is what it would feel like to be Batman. This is what it feels like to be Spider-Man.
Yeah, there you go, everybody. You learn something new on this channel every day.
There you go.
Yeah, what you said there, I think you summed it up perfectly. This is, as someone who loves action RPGs and as someone who isn't, the biggest comic book fan, I've never read comics.
Right.
All of my experience with comic book characters are either through games or through movies, like most other people. And I get what you mean with how Rocksteady have set people up. We expect to feel like Batman, but here you don't feel I think the only character that you kind of feel like that character is maybe Deadshot, because it is a third-person shooter, where the other characters, it's more sort of now I don't know much about Suicide Squad, but I'm sitting here from watching the movies, I'm like, them characters don't look like they should fit in a third-person shooter. But
I mean, yeah, 100%.
I think once you get past that, there is a very fun loop here of characters that feel fun to just traverse the world. There was also a couple of mechanics as Deadshot where you could recharge your energy by shooting them with different shots and shooting them in the legs, where there is a bit more mechanical skill. If we take it back, Gotham Knights, okay? This game, in people's minds, this game was going to be another Gotham Knights. It's another WB game. I know it's made by a different team, but it's another WB game that's kind of almost a live service game, but isn't exactly a live service game.
Right.
And the problem is comparing anything being put in the same bracket as Gotham Knights, everybody's going to already have, a bad taste in their mouth going into it, because Gotham Knights, if you play this game for 30 minutes and you play Gotham Knights for 10 hours, this game has more fun in it in 30 minutes than Gotham Knights does in basically the whole game. and it actually feels like a fun game to play, which is the number one thing that Gotham Knights got wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta tip my cap a little bit to Rocksteady for some of these mechanics in the game, because I actually think it's functionally really interesting how they are translating ideas from the Batman Arkham game into a third-person shooter. So like Batman Arkham, for example, you string a combo together. The higher you get in your combo, you can like start to do special attacks like takedowns to do, like that system is in this shooter. Like you have a combo meter that like rewards you for staying in the flow of a fight. So like if you're able to capitalize on your traversal and your shooting and flow all of that together and never like take a moment to go hide and like, charge up your health, if you could stay in it, you can do things like immediate takedowns, things that you're familiar with from the Batman Arkham games. Same with the counter button. Somehow, Gotham Knights, no counter button. This game, a shooter, has the counter button, which is shocking, but I actually really like how it plays out, because as somebody that's not like the biggest just straight up shooter fan, I feel like my mental stack here is higher than it is with most first person shooters, for example, where you're just trying to shoot the other person. This is like, okay, so if I shoot somebody's legs, they get put into a harvestable state in which now I can use my melee attack and I recharge my shield. So that's a mechanic. And like you were saying with the traversal abilities, like linking those together, that's something that has a higher skill ceiling too. So like if you're Deadshot, being able to fly further is something that you will get better at as your skills go up. And the counter button plays into that too, just like waiting for that specific, kind of like in Batman Arkham where they have the stuff coming off their heads. It's like very similar in this game. And then you press a different button to fire a counter shot, and then that incapacitates that enemy for a little bit. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff here going on kind of like underneath the hood that I think is more fun to play than it is to watch. I think it's a hard thing to translate that mental stack and all the little different things that you're doing in a gameplay video. So I understand people seeing this and not quite understanding the full brunt of everything you get your hands on.
Yeah, what you brought up there kind of reminds me a bit of something like Doom Eternal, where
sure,
you watch someone play Doom Eternal, yeah, it's flashy, it's fun, there's cool heavy metal music going off, but in your head when you're playing Doom Eternal, it's like a puzzle. You're like, okay, that enemy over there, I need to use my shotgun on him, so I'll save my bullets for that. But what I can do, I could shoot this guy, melee him, he'll drop ammo, I can pick it up, then I can use the grappling hook on my shotgun to go over to him, and in your head, it's just constant like mental battles as well as mechanical battles, because you also need to have the actual physical skill to be able to pull it off. And I don't think that's even necessary in an action RPG, because I mean, if you look at a game like Borderlands, which is one of my favorite series ever, that like the gameplay loop of Borderlands is very, very simple. Like it's a first person shooter. Yes, you have some fun guns and all that, but it's all just L2 R2, use your abilities every now and again. But everything added on top of that is in all the numbers popping off, that gets your brain going, and then you're getting loot on top of it. It's just brilliant. And if you can make a well-made game mechanically, as well as have those extra layers of sort of, oh, I just completed this quest, oh, I just got this new weapon, oh, I did this, and this is like, again, this is more of almost like an interviewing you playing it, because you played a lot more of it. I just played enough of it to realize I want this game, I'm going to buy it day one. But it's another thing, even though I loved Marvel Avengers, that was something that Marvel Avengers was missing. Where Marvel Avengers kind of felt more akin to like Borderlands, where the loop, the actual playing it is, it's fine. It does the job, but ultimately you're there because you're enjoying just getting loot and you're getting resources to craft stuff and everything like that. And I think, like this game does feel like something that you can master eventually. Again, since this is always like previews and we're only playing the alpha, it's impossible to know if it pans out over 20 hours or if in the first 6-7 hours you're going to realize, oh, the game just showed me everything I need to know. But so far it is pretty positive in my eyes.
I agree. I think Borderlands is such a good comparison. I've always wanted a Borderlands game in which the differentiation between the classes was much more pronounced in an active way. I think it's very passively pronounced in all the different builds and bonuses you can do, but I always wished, remember like Battleborn? It was kind of like trying to do that idea from them, but like not successfully. And I actually feel that this game is giving me a degree of what I always wanted from Borderlands, because it's like, okay, we have all of these guns and most characters can use the same guns, and there's a lot of like, you get a new gun and it does this, and like that kind of excitement in the same way that like in a roguelike game, for example, it's like, oh, you pick up a new item and you're excited to try it out. Like, I really like that loop. But in this game, something that I really appreciate is those differences between the characters and the classes. And just like one scenario for you to kind of paint what I'm talking about is, you will see a group of bad guys and they're hanging out on the top of the roof of this building, and they will throw up a big like hologram shield thing, and you can't shoot through that shield. So let's say I'm playing Captain Boomerang. His traversal lets me throw the boomerang, and then whenever I like let go of that button, wherever that boomerang is in the air, I pretty much teleport to it and I'm there. So his gameplay is that I'm the best at flanking the enemies. I can very quickly reposition myself, get around that wall, shoot behind him. But now I'm playing Deadshot. What's he doing in this scenario? Deadshot is flying, and he can essentially create a vantage point wherever he is to get shots off. So instead of being the flanking guy, he's like creating an invisible platform for himself up in the air and sniping people. That's a little bit different. King Shark isn't doing either one of those things. He's getting directly above these enemies, jumping down using his little smash attack, and then trying to destroy them from the inside. And Harley Quinn was pretty hard to play. Didn't figure her out. Not entirely sure what her thing is supposed to be. I had a hard time doing, and I think it's because I was early on in the game, but it felt like she had a high skill ceiling with how to properly use her swinging thing. So she was the person I figured out the least. But it's like these immediate differences, and that's before you even have these like all these like skill trees that I think are directly ripped from Borderlands. Those 3 different skill trees you can go down and make the builds even more unique. Even just that on the surface of it, I feel is like a fun level of character variation, and I liked switching between them, and I have that moment, and I think this is such a fun moment. It reminds me of fun fighting games where I get really good at Captain Boomerang, and I feel confident. I can go into any group of enemies and I'm destroying them, and then I go, okay, I want to try somebody else. So I switch to King Shark, and I die. And I go, oh my god, how is that possible? And it's because I don't know how to play this character. And I think that is a mark of a good video game. There should be separate learning curves for each character. Like fundamentals carry over, like I'm still doing my counter shots or whatever, but you have to adjust. I actually think Marvel's Avengers did this well too. Every new character was like, you had to reset your brain and say, how am I playing this game? And I really appreciated it for that.
Yes, just as, again, Jake, you are bringing up some brilliant points about Battleborn there, and I want to take that to Overwatch and to the finals. You brought it up how you would say it's equivalent to a fighting game, where when you pick up a new character, you're like, oh, this is like a complete mental reset. Like, yeah, I still have a light, heavy, medium punch, but I still have to learn all of these things. And I'm going to take it over to Battleborn or Overwatch more so, because that's the game that won out, unfortunately. Even though I did enjoy Battleborn. But
Me
like,
too.
When you take, you were talking about Deadshot and trying to stay in the air. Like, that reminds me of playing Pharah in Overwatch, where you can do all the basic stuff where you can launch up into the air, but eventually, as you learn the mechanics of playing Pharah, you can realize that if you're good enough, you can pretty much stay in the air for as long as you want. And then since each character has different traversal mechanics, it's exactly like, you know, like playing Tracer in comparison to playing like a tank. Like, you know, Tracer runs in, deals a bit of damage, gets out, and then there's a tank that runs in and just soaks up all the damage, and he's there for the close range combat. And again, taking it back to Borderlands, even like I've played every single character in every single Borderlands game at least once, and even though the gameplay style is basically the exact same, there's still fun in that. But now the fact that the characters just feel completely different from one character to the next, and I like that they open with that tutorial where they give you all 4 characters to try out, rather than you know when you start, say, let's like Diablo 4 last year. Okay, I started that game. I started as a ranger or whatever the character is, and by the time you start to get the grips with the character and whether or not you like them and if you want to continue, you're almost so far out. You're like level 10. You're like, do I really want to restart this? And it's like, no. But at least here they give you the option to try out all the characters first and not feel like you're punished by like wasting 5 or 6 hours to actually get all the grips of all the abilities too.
Yeah, and if you're playing solo, you can switch in your party whenever you want. You got some downtime, you want to play somebody else, run around the open world, switch your character, sure. Really fun multiplayer feature that I think is goofy is that if let's say you just want to play this game solo, you don't want to play with your friends, you want to just watch the cutscenes, you don't want to have me in your ear screaming, you can take my character, my Captain Boomerang, and play with him. So it's my build, and it's like and yeah,
cool.
but it's a bot. And here's the crazy thing, Adam. My bot is gonna play with you, and when the next time I log on, I get all of the loot that he got.
Also, it's like the pawn system in Dragon's Dogma almost.
It's so cool.
That's brilliant. I didn't know that. That's brilliant.
Yeah, I really like that. Some other cool multiplayer things is that like you do these missions and it's like maybe somebody on your friends list has already done that mission. You see like the high score, like how many enemies they were able to destroy, how quickly, that kind of thing. And it puts you on a scoreboard. And I was doing this test and it kept telling me, oh, you beat Adam's score, and I could send you a taunt. And so one of my characters does like a special taunt, and he's like Captain Boomerang's like flipping the bird. I'm like sending that to you. I'm like, all right. Like, I just thought that was like a fun idea that I'm like, why is this even here? I don't know. So yeah, I don't know. I think this game has some like really fun, neat stuff going for it. But again, it's going to be so hard for it to get out from under this shadow because I really do think that a lot of people just don't want this kind of game that is you're running around shooting stuff all the time and you feel like I'm still shooting stuff. And even in what I'm talking about, like they went out of their way in this game to have Captain Boomerang steal a Speed Force gauntlet. This is a version of Captain Boomerang that nobody is like, oh, that's the version that I know and love from the comics. This is Rocksteady's character, and you need to be okay with that. Because like in Marvel Spider-Man, you are playing as Spider-Man, the one you know and love. And that's not what's going on here. And I think that is a big hurdle because I don't know, it's almost on a philosophical level. You're trying to sell people on a superhero experience that isn't the one that they have been trained and told is the prestige, the thing that they should want, and the thing that I think they naturally want. You know, Superman's flying around in this game. Everybody's gonna want to play as him, and that's a challenge. So I don't know. I will say though, I think that in this genre of games, something I come across a lot, like I'm playing Remnant 2 right now, and I'm loving it, having a really great time. I feel that everything in that game is kind of generic in a way that I'm playing it because I like the gameplay loop.
Yeah.
I think it's fun to just run around, shoot, play with my friends, whatever. But every like personality, every enemy, every boss fight, I have no attachment to it. I am not remembering these things and it's not really affecting my experience. And I think that something this game has over other games in its genre are these bespoke, distinct, generally just enjoyable, memorable identities and personalities. And like there were some in that alpha, there were some like set piece moments and sequences that I was like, whoa, these are the people that made the Batman games. And just from like the way the characters talk and are in cutscenes to, and actually, I'm not going to talk about it because it's too cool and I can't spoil it for people. But there is one sequence in the game that involves Batman, and I was blown away. I just on a level of like what the idea was and how it was executed. And I went, this is a memorable sequence. And not a lot of games in this genre, even like Diablo's, same thing, they don't have that element to it. And I think that's really going to help this game, at least in my eyes.
Yeah, I think the only other action RPG, and I'm definitely on the outskirts here, that has memorable characters is the Borderlands series.
Yeah.
And now I'm one of the weirdos that I love all the characters in Borderlands, and you know, like half of the bosses you remember because of like stupid things. Like remember what was his name, Nine Toes, and then he has 3 balls, and it's like, you know, I was like 11 playing that. I was like, that is gold. That is comedy gold. I'll remember that for the rest of my days.
But that's such a good point, Adam, because the boss fights though, it's like so many. How much superhero fiction in off the top of your head struggles with a good villain? Like that is a constant complaint in superhero fiction. And I do think it was kind of smart to position this game in a way that every boss battle, you are dealing with something iconic. Like, I don't know, there was a lot of criticism in some of the previews recently about like the Flash boss fight. But the fact that you can say like, so we're fighting the Flash, and everybody goes, got it, understood, like, and comes into that with a special degree of engagement and appreciation. Like, I don't know, that to me is important and helps the game. Like, knowing that in this game I'm gonna fight the Flash, Green Lantern, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, like, at least I think, I don't know, none of that was in the test, but
Jake
like,
got a complete build of the game, he knows everything.
but yeah, there's something to that I think, like, not only as a game on launch will that help it, but since you're playing as the villains, heroes are more iconic than the villains, and I have to assume that like big boss battles will be a part of future content in this game. So if they're like, hey, we're doing some Aquaman stuff, that's cool. That's cooler than if we were playing a superhero game and they were like, all right, Jake, Black Mask is coming to the game. I'm a little bit like, all right. You know, it's
I don't even know who Black Mask is, Jake.
Exactly. And he's been in movies. He was in Batman Arkham Origins. The Joker was pretending to be Black Mask. Remember this?
It's been years since I played Origins.
All right. But yeah, he was Obi-Wan Kenobi in the Birds of Prey movie. There you go. That guy.
Never seen it.
Dang. All right.
Jake, seriously, you do not understand my lack of superhero knowledge. It's laughable. The majority of my superhero knowledge actually comes from games. So yeah. But
I see. Yeah.
Yeah, but you have to like, at the end of the day, I watched a couple of the cutscenes as I was playing. I'm like, yeah. As you get them, you're like, oh, this is Rocksteady.
Yes. Yes. Exactly.
These are the people that I just, you know, everybody seeing on the channel. I just played all 3 Arkham games. Fantastic stories. I loved them. And you're sitting there like, oh, you know that? Because I loved Arkham Knight's story. I think I might be, you know, that mightn't be a well-held opinion that people like the Arkham Knight story as much as the others, but I think the Arkham Knight story is the best of the 3. And
agreed.
Yeah, and it's like not only from the quality of the performances, but the actual writing itself is very good, and there's a massive difference playing. I'm gonna keep going back to Gotham Knights here, but there's a massive difference, I think, in playing this game and watching a Rocksteady cutscene and watching a WB Montreal, cutscene.
Right. Oh, yeah. Well, that's not even. I hope that conversation's not even on this.
No, it shouldn't. It shouldn't be had. I just had to mention it because as I said, I gave Gotham Knights its own tier on my tier list because that game seriously sucks balls, and yeah, it's just awful. I just have to take a dig at that every time I can.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I totally get it, and I think what it comes down to for me, as we approach this game's launch, is that, you know, live service is a dirty word, and I think that it has been, it's impossible at this point to re-educate consumers on that term. Once you hear it, the assumption is that live service implies it's like a cash in, like we're just trying to make money. So I think they have to figure out how to get over that hurdle for sure. But I think the real fear is not in the monetization, because for at least from what I have seen, they have said that the only thing that they're charging you for is a cosmetic only battle pass. In my test, by the way, I was unlocking outfits for the characters without having to pay into a battle pass, and I actually thought it was cool the way they did it. It's like you unlock a costume, and then there's like a couple styles for that costume, and then there's colorways for that costume, and I was like, oh, that's fine. So I appreciated that. I think they might have some cool things in the works, but yeah, cosmetic only battle pass, and then characters and content are going to be free in the first year, they've said. And then I think after a year, maybe they reevaluate. So I'm not worried about this game like trying to nickel and dime me at the moment. The thing I think should maybe for consumers be an actual worry is if the live service structure of the way you have to make a game will infiltrate the game design and make it like a repetitive experience. So do you find that the things that you are doing are built in a way so that they can repackage them again and again in the future with like different skins on top of them? And that's hard to say because, you know, I only had access to the beginning portion of the game. So I don't know if that loop is going to eventually get grading or not. I don't know if the loot is going to be enough to like keep me engaged in the experience. But what I can say is that I personally think because of the dissonance between this game and Rocksteady's prior games, I think people are being harder on this game than they are on others that could be guilty of the same thing. I can't believe people go gaga over Diablo 4 in previews and think that this is garbage. Because to me, Diablo 4 is way more repetitive than what I'm doing in this, which is way more active, at least in my head, for me.
No, it is. No, it is. Yeah, yeah. Like, I love Diablo, but yes, it is. This game is way more active because you're actually you're playing it in a 3D space. You're not just clicking.
So yeah, so my thing is that I'm kind of just asking anybody watching this video to just be like a little bit more critical with their thoughts, because it's so easy for somebody to say it's repetitive, so it's bad. I'm like, okay, there are repetitive aspects to every single video game we play. I'm not sure exactly what you're saying with that complaint. So like for me, it's though the act of what you are doing is structurally repetitive, are all of the systems baked into the game so engaging that I feel there is a degree of expression, creativity, and fun that happens in how I am experiencing that same loop over and over and over again. This is very similar to how I feel about fighting games. So I think my impression of the game is that I'm really positive on it. I think it's got the makings of something that I'm going to like a lot. I will understand if it's not the game that people want. But I think that they're making a lot of moves that are interesting to me. I've always wanted a Destiny-like game that I could get attached to, that I could care about the world, care about my character, care about like the events that are going on. And if you launch this game, it has all the systems it has now, and then a month, 2 months after launch, you tell me, Jake, the Justice Society is invading. We're doing an event. This group of heroes they're coming in to stop you. You've got to do a raid that ends with you fighting, Alan Scott or Dr. Fate, or, you go into this magical world. You have a big Dr. Fate. Like, that is so exciting to me. Maybe you come around Halloween and it goes, okay, Jake, we're going to Gotham City. You're going to fight Nightwing.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, dude. Like, that is so much more hype to me than when Destiny says, all right, we're approaching the big bad space guy. He is strong. He is scary. I'm like, yeah, that's cool. Like, I don't know. I just can't get attached to it in the same way. So that's my hope for this game. I'm really positive on it. I understand people where they're going to diverge, because this is a very different promise of a game than their past offerings, but it's something I've wanted for a long time, so I hope they can stick the landing.
Yep. Just a couple of things I want to touch on there about.
Please, yeah, please.
Firstly, the repetition you were saying.
Yeah.
Every single game full stop is repetitive. That's how games are designed. They are designed off like, a 20-second loop, and can you keep that 20-second loop? Can you inject enough variation into a 20-second loop to make people forget that they're doing that exact same 20-second loop for, 30, 40, 50, 60 hours or whatever? And especially action RPGs like Destiny. Deploy Ghost, defend this position. Borderlands. Go to this cave, shoot somebody, leave. Give me Diablo. Walk over here, kill 100 enemies, and then leave. They're all repetitive, and I do think this game is being treated unfairly, because they're leveling criticism that you can level at every single game, and especially every single action RPG at it. And it was the same with Marvel Avengers, to be honest. I think people gave that a bad rap as well. And then also, when it comes to like the structure of sort of this as a live service and everything that's going on, it's like if the structure of this game, so imagine, sells pretty well, because it probably will, let's be honest. It's a WB game. They generally sell well, especially when there's a license attached to it. They're gonna, like, Gotham Knights sold loads, and that game is awful. Yeah. So let's say this game comes out, they've a year roadmap for, like, 2 more characters and 2 raids and 4 more bosses or something like that. Yeah. And then say the game falls off, and it's like, what is the problem with that? Like, why can't we have... Great point. Like, what is wrong with the old Borderlands structure, or the old insert game from the 2010s, where it's like, we'll give you the game, it'll be a full game, and we'll give you 4 story DLCs, and we'll release them maybe, the first one maybe 8 months later, and then from then on we release them every 5 months until they're done, and then there's the game.
Can I tell you, Adam, I have a theory about this. I think it's related to the MCU. I think consumers have been trained to want things to be endless.
Yeah, well, yeah, there's definitely a part of that because, and you know, this is completely off topic, but like The Last of Us Online, like if anybody played the online portion of The Last of Us, that was a fantastic multiplayer game.
Yeah.
And like I played it for 2 years, maybe a year and a half, whatever, and I had my fun, and that was it. And it's so annoying that The Last of Us factions gets cancelled because apparently, now obviously these are all just rumors, but because apparently it isn't viable for like a long-term live service game where it's like, just give us a multiplayer game that's fun for 2 years. We'll give you your money. We'll buy your battle passes. We might buy some DLC on top of that, and then just call it a day. But
make another one. Then make another one.
Yeah, or even that. Like it's because like. And the MCU, and then obviously I don't think Fortnite helped it anything. That Fortnite has been going since 2017, and it's been constantly iterating with Chapter 1, Season 2, and Season 2, Chapter 3, and then, oh, we're changing it to Season 3 now, the map is changing. And it's like, that is cool, but it's very frustrating that every single game has to feel like they have to follow that formula.
100%. Yeah, there's definitely corporate pressure right now to have things that are constantly making money. And it's and you definitely like lose sight of, I think it's funny because like we get involved with that as a consumer, like you're saying, like it's almost like we've been trained to think that something needs to be that for it to be successful. But I think all the time about like Destiny 2 has some great stuff and it has some not so great stuff. And sometimes I just wish that they weren't shackled to like whatever choices they made 6 years ago when they were making this game and could just say, okay, well now we're gonna, with everything we've learned, we're gonna do this now. So yeah, I'm 100% with you. And I agree, as a consumer, it's like, how many games are you really playing 3 years after they come out? So what is the problem if you play this game, enjoy it for 50 hours, and then never play it again? Is that the worst thing in the world?
Yeah, exactly. Like I bought, so every single year when FIFA comes out, or EA Sports FC comes out, I have a battle in my head of like, don't buy the game because A, it's frustrating, B, you'll get addicted to it, and C, you'll just waste a lot of time, okay?
Right.
And this year I bought it, and I put 50 hours into it, and I just put it down. It's like, I had my fun, but even in the back of my head there, no, Jake, I'm just backing up your point there. Even in the back of my head, I'm like, I just wasted money on FIFA. Even though I paid, €80 for it, got 50 hours of playtime out of it, and I enjoyed it. But even in the back of my head, I'm like, that was a wasted €80.
Wow, you felt that way.
Yeah, but I shouldn't.
You shouldn't. That's well worth that experience.
Definitely. Like, what else are you going to spend €80 on to get 50 hours worth of anything out of? Like, you go to the cinema, like, me and my girlfriend go to the cinema, and it costs us like €70 for 2 tickets, 2 popcorns, and 2 drinks. And it's like, you get 2 hours entertainment, then you leave. Or you go out for dinner for 2 hours and it costs you like €100 and something, and you're like, oh, that was expensive for 2 hours.
One of the worst modern cost comparisons you can make is a ticket to the movies versus a video game. That is one of the worst. I cannot square that circle in my head. So that's, So I hear you. I think sometimes people in games tend to pearl clutch about value. And I think, and I don't know, maybe it's like a position of entitlement. But I think more often than not, you get far more value out of a game than the money you're putting into it.
Oh, like 100%, nearly 100% of the time, because it's like the only form. This is a completely different conversation now, but I know, you're at the end of the video, so I hope you enjoy it. But like this, it's the only like art form that we sit there and we say, oh well, if I pay €70 for this game, I need to get at least 20 hours out of it. Like, what else do we do that? Like, if you buy an album, do you rack how many times you listen to it, or you read a book? It's like, this book is only like 100 pages long. I'll get through this in a week, or 2 days or 3 days. It's like, this cost me €8. This isn't worth it. It's like, no, you're there to enjoy the story and the experience of playing it, and whether it be like a fantastic story or just a fun gameplay experience or a mixture of both. It's like, can we not just accept that, like, you are buying the experience, and that's what it's worth. It's not the time. Like I sit here and I can tell you every single detail about The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. I have never once gone back and thought like, oh, my parents probably spent like €70 on that game. It's like, no, I don't remember that. I just remember playing the game.
That's a funny way of framing it, because you're right. I've never said that to myself either. I've never put that into the context of like, as a child, did I get enough enjoyment out of this for my parents to have gotten their money worth?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a pretty funny conversation. Something I'm just thinking about as we wrap up here too is that you've been saying you're not like a huge comic book superhero person. I will say I'm not like a big MCU person, but I am a big comics person. Read comics my whole life. Big Superman is my favorite fictional character of all time. Actually, I've got a Superman book. This is one of my favorites. It's called Superman Red and Blue. It's a collection of Superman stories. It's kind of new. If you're a viewer and you want a good Superman book to read, this is the one. Amazing. It really identifies what's so great about the character, I think. But something I am curious with this game about, as a super fan, is the portrayal of Superman. Because I don't get that a lot. I don't get new Superman all the time. So I'm really curious to see. By my ears, by the way, I just checked, and it appears, according to what the Suicide Squad team has said, I am allowed to say this. Nolan North appears to be voicing Superman. I haven't seen that posted anywhere. I haven't seen anybody talk about it. But that's from my ear, it sounded like it was Nolan North. It sounded almost identical to his Iron Man in the Avengers game. So I just a little nugget here for anybody that's made it this far in the video. I am so curious to see how I feel about this at the end of the game, because
wait, so that has been so he is, or just by your ear you think he is?
I am going to say I am 90% sure it's him.
Okay. But it's no information that was like given to you. It's just no.
I've not seen anybody say anything about this. So so this is just going by what I think. But yeah, it sounds exactly like Nolan North to me. I think maybe he's been Superman in animated cartoons. So
Nolan North has been somebody at one point in his life.
Yeah. So I thought that was interesting, and it's just as a huge Superman fan, I'm so curious to see how you wrap up this story, because like Rocksteady has a big thing in front of them right now, which is kill the Justice League. And I am not invested in whether or not that actually happens. I don't think that's the most interesting thing in the story. I think the most interesting thing is what choices they make, like in that framework, right? Because there's so many different directions you can go in. So I don't know, man. It's do I get at any point in this video game a version of Superman that is standing tall, smiling, and being like, hey, Suicide Squad, good job. Like that would be, there's something about that just like excites me. So I don't know. I'm curious to see how it's gonna pan out, but it's one thing that I am definitely worried about. So just throwing in a little subtle concern in there. Yeah.
Well,
cool.
I think I'm done talking about Justice League until it comes out, or Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, whatever we want to call it. But thank you, Jake.
Yeah, maybe a bad title, maybe too long.
Yeah, probably. I mean, you know, there's definitely been a lost art of video game titles in the past while.
Would it have been so bad if it was Suicide Squad versus the Justice League?
I think that might come across as like a fighting game.
Good call. Yeah. You're right. Okay, never mind. Maybe just kill the Justice League.
Yeah.
But you know what?
See, I think Suicide Squad itself is
like it's a strong brand.
I think almost now Suicide Squad is more known than the Justice League.
It's up there. Yeah. People like to dog on it, but those movies made a lot of money, and it's like a very strong.
I love them. I really enjoyed them.
It's a really strong merchandising brand. So I understand why this game got made, to be honest with you. But used to work at WB too, so I guess I should disclose that. But whatever.
That's why he likes the game. Everybody, we've discovered. Don't listen to a word he says.
Not in games though.
He's a shill.
Oh my god. But Adam, this was a great discussion. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm glad I got to get this out. I've got so much in me that I never get out about the superheroes and this stuff. So I appreciate you giving me the forum.
When the game comes out, Jake, we will have to reconvene and actually talk about the game. Have somebody talk about the story, because I will not. Well, no, to be honest, I will pay attention, but
you will.
Yeah. But you know, I don't really know much. Like, oh yeah, the Joker is funny. I like him. That's my analysis of superhero games. But yes, follow Jake at Jake Knows It on Twitter. Yes, and that's it. I have my Lucky Mo Salah in the background. He's a footballer that plays for Liverpool, if you didn't know. He's, as they call him, the Egyptian King, Jake, because he is the best footballer in the world.
He's got the crown.
Yeah. So there you go. Mo Salah. Everybody, go follow Mo Salah on Twitter. Even though he has like millions upon millions of followers. So yeah,
Tell him
thank you.
Adam sent you. Adam sent you.
Yes. And then I'll be able to meet him. Okay. Thank you for watching. Subscribe. Do all that. Whatever that crap is. Goodbye. Love you. Bye.